The Essential Education projector range from Hitachi sponsors ICT programs.
Are you looking for secondary science ICT resources to really enhance your lessons? Well, today on a Resource Review ICT special, we'll be looking at 3 that might just fit the bill. They are a website of science learning tools and activities, a multifunctional data logger, and a set of CD-ROMs to help the non-specialist physics teacher. Now, recommending today's resources is Steve Pendleton. He is the Secondary National Strategy Advisor for Warwickshire Local Authority. On the panel today, Colin Hinson, a freelance education consultant and broadcaster, and Mel Kirk, lead practitioner for science at Courtmore School in Hampshire, and Mel's been trying out the resources in her lessons. Now, over in the test lab, Matthew Tosh, our resident ICT expert, will be putting the resources through their paces. So, Steve, your first choice of resource for us today is the eChalk website. Now, there must be other secondary science websites out there, so what is it about this one that you like?
Well, what I like about this one is that it's very uncluttered. It consists of a lot of flash animations which you could use with an interactive whiteboard. For example, this one is a balloon blast game.
Right.
And you would use that if you were teaching a class about the reflection of light. And you might get the children there to line up the balloon to get the laser to burst it.
Oh, you missed.
Yeah, I'm not very good at this game.
Go on, try once more.
OK. That should be easier. It's a smaller angle.
Hey.
Bang. Good shooting.
So we're having lots of fun on this website, but it's not free. You've got to pay for this one. So why should teachers be interested in this particular website?
I think what this does is it enhances the practical experience. So you would use this to reinforce messages and the learning from a practical situation. And because it's uncluttered and it's simple to use, it's not going to take the attention away from the pupil and their learning. It's going to focus more on what the child needs to do. OK,
well, thank you very much. Now let's go over to Matthew for a bit more of a tour of the eChalk website.
Once you've logged into the eChalk website and selected science, there are 4 options available. You can either browse the resources according to subject, or you can go to the QCA links. Now here we've got our list of QCA topics, which you can jump to from the box at the top, or I can scroll down the page. So I'm going to try the States of Matter resource here. Now each resource starts with an introduction screen. If I click on here to fire up the activity, you can see our particle model. Now on the right hand side we've got the temperature control, and if I click on the gas button, then you can see our particles are behaving in the gas phase. The majority of the website runs in Flash, so you're going to need to have the latest version of Flash Player installed, which is the case in most schools. However, 1 or 2 of the resources are Java based, and you'll need to have a Java enabled browser. Like this one here. This is a DNA model that you can sort of zoom in and out of and rotate. How cool is that? And there's a similar thing in the chemistry section for looking at alkanes and alkenes. Now, as for more hands-on resources, there are a variety of quizzes and puzzles that you can do. And there's even a build your own atom activity, which I'll just load up here. And essentially you can drag in various particles to your atom. If you want to have a go at creating a particular element, and you click on the next element button here, and you drag in your protons and electrons, you see on the right hand side the details of your atom, your electronic charge, and at the very bottom of the screen it's got the state of your atom. There's plenty of resources on here to keep you and your classes entertained.
OK, Steve, well, Matthew seemed to quite like the eChalk website, but isn't it the type of experiment that the pupils should really be doing hands-on in the classroom rather than playing around on the computer?
Absolutely, I think you're quite right. The pupils do need to be getting a hands-on experience, but what this does is it reinforces the learning and it enables the teacher to explore any misconceptions that children may have gained.
Well, over to you now, Mel, because you've actually had a go with eChalk with your own pupils. How did it go down?
I think generally, depending on where you use them, it's quite useful. Some activities are better for starters, some are better for them to try out, and some are better just for teacher demonstrations. I've got one to show you.
Okay.
This would have been used as a plenary at the end of the lesson or at a start at the beginning of next lesson. So what you've got then is various questions at the top of the screen, and the students have to click on the right answer and avoid the penalties. Okay, so that it's just a quick idea that they could have a go at this, and it'd be good for the interactive whiteboard.
Okay, well, over to Colin. What are your thoughts on eChalk?
Well, I mean, I think everyone has picked up on the sort of fun element of this particular website and the activities that are actually there, and I think that's extremely important, particularly with teaching of secondary science. You know, there is a danger that it could be very dry, to say the least, and something like this particular website with these games, I think, makes that crossover between entertainment and education a very, very good one. I can see pupils being really engaged with what they're actually looking at.
Was there anything in particular
There
that you
was one
liked?
particular game that I liked. Now, this is just a pairing game, which I think a lot of pupils will be very familiar with, linking up the description with the symbol and so on, which I thought was really, really nice because it actually applies to the everyday life of pupils.
Okay, well, time now to move on to Steve's second choice of resource for us today, and it's on the table in front of us. It's the Data Harvest EasySense Q Advanced Data Logger. Steve, tell us about this one.
Well, this is a data logger that can work both with a computer or as a standalone device, and you can attach it to one of the sensors here. I've got it at the moment connected to an infrared sensor, and as you can see, not much infrared coming from our tabletop here.
No.
But from my earlobe, quite a bit more.
Right, a big jump there. What other accessories can you get for the Data Harvest Logger?
Well, there's a large range of sensors available. We've got the heart rate sensor, and also here for measuring speed and acceleration, there are light gates.
By the time you've bought all the sensors that can go with the data logger, this is not a cheap resource. It can quickly add up. So why this one? What makes this stand out?
It's very easy to use both for the pupil and for the teacher. And I think there is a danger that if it's too difficult for children and teachers to get hold of, it's going to stay in their cupboard. I can see this being used on a regular basis.
Okay, well, let's go over to Matthew now and see if he found it easy to use.
There's no doubt that data logging has become simpler in schools with the advent of USB ports, and the EasySense Q Advance data logger is no exception to this. Like all data loggers, it has a freestanding record mode, or it can plug directly into a computer and record up to 6 channels of data. I'm going to be demonstrating with a temperature probe today, and I've got the software up on the home page, and the easiest way to start logging is by using the EasyLog function here. And it will just log for as long as you let the computer program run. Now I'll put my temperature probe into my hot water like that, and you can see the temperature rising. It will log until I hit the stop button. Now once you've got your graph, you can right click on the graph, you can zoom in, you can change the scale, so I'll just change the scale like that. And at the top of the page there are several tools that you can use to find out the values. So at any point on the graph there, if I just drag that across, you can see the points. You can find out the difference between values if you've got more than one trace on your graph. And then this tool here I particularly like because it will give you the gradient at any point along the graph. And you can see there in the top left hand corner the rate of change of temperature. Now back on the home page you can click on the graph button, and this gives you more control of your graph settings. You can change things such as the total recording time and the sampling rate. The more general graph settings you can control using the graph options here, and this goes for any of the graphs in the EasySense package. The software is very intuitive to use, and there's also a variety of worksheets that come with it, and these give you different tasks that you can carry out with children. I particularly like this one here, this chocolate effect. There's a worksheet that goes with it, and it looks into the effects of caffeinated drinks and chocolates, stimulants, on things like the heart rate. Well, I quite like this. I've got myself sorted, I've got my essential prop here, so I'm going to do some serious science now and hand you back to Hermione.
Well, Mel, how did you get on with this resource?
Well, I find it quite important at the moment. There's a big emphasis on what's called how science works, which is all about designing your own experiment and commenting on its accuracy and its precision. So some of these instruments are very good for accuracy. It's much better to get a temperature at 0.1 of a degree than use a thermometer. So it's very good for students to be able to plan their experiments using this.
And did you find it easy to use, easy to set up?
Initially I had a bit of a problem setting it up due to administration rights in the school, and you would need technician help just to get the right one out the box and plug it in for you and get it ready. But in terms of the students using it, they just plug and play and they can see a graph form.
Colin, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, it was the usability and the ease of use thing that I think is extremely important here. You know, with a lot of these sort of data loggers, the software that comes with it can be quite complex, but I felt this one was very, very easy to use, both for the pupils, but also means that for the teacher it's very easy for them to start up, if you like. They don't have to go through a lot of rigmarole before actually using it in the classroom.
Were there any issues that either of you came across with using it?
As I said, the students have to comment on the accuracy of their data and whether or not they can really rely on their results or results from anywhere else they might see in the internet. I had a problem with the heart rate monitor. I didn't feel it was that accurate. We put it on and they had to do armchair athletics where they were making their heart rate increase, and it, you know, went down, so they were dead for a minute, and then the heart rate went up, and that's a problem because they have to comment on their inaccuracy.
So that's not terribly, perhaps not a good one. OK, well, on now to Steve's third choice of resource for us, and it's a set of CD-ROMs for supporting physics teaching. So, Steve, tell me about this one.
Well, this is a set of 5 CDs, and it's designed to help teachers who are science teachers but not necessarily physics specialists. And what it does is it helps them get an understanding of the underlying physics, familiarises them with the sorts of issues that they're going to come across when teaching physics, so some of the misconceptions that pupils might have, and it also provides suggested teaching approaches that they might take. It comes from a very authentic source, the Institute of Physics, so the quality of it is excellent.
Right, OK. Is there anything on it that you particularly like?
Well, it is very easy to navigate, and if we look in this section here about electric currents, so here we've got a model of the flow of charge in a wire, and if I increase the flow rate, it goes up accordingly.
Right, OK, so very simple for the non-specialist to grasp. Mel, what do you think of this resource?
It's an excellent resource for teachers to learn, although it does say, for instance, just one of the topics, you need about 12 hours reading time just to read it, and that's just for one topic. So it is difficult in that respect, but there are some excellent misconceptions and images to look at for the students.
I must admit I was slightly sad when I was looking at this, you know, because I came to regard it as a stopgap. The solution is more physics teachers.
OK. Well, thank you all very much. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for today. But just to recap, the 3 resources that we've looked at are eChalk from eChalk Limited, EasySense Q Advance Data Logger from Data Harvest Group Limited, and Supporting Physics Teaching 11 to 14 from the Institute of Physics. For more information about the resources we featured today, go to our website. It's teachers.tv/resource review, or if you want to email us, resourcereview@teachers.tv. I'd like to say a big thank you to the panel, to Steve, to Mel and to Colin. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you next time on Resource Review. Bye-bye.
Essential education projectors from Hitachi sponsor ICT programs.